I now call this meeting of the Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, February 20th, 2025 with the land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations, the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band, Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was, and still is, stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. With that, Speaker Pro Tem Heseltine will take it away with our first roll call.
Alvarez.
Here.
Bailey.
Here.
Black.
Here.
Bolton. Brugan. Byers.
Here.
Casement.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Cox.
Here.
Ediger.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
George.
Yeah.
Giefer. Glanville.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Yeah.
Hassan Shakib. Hoffman.
Here.
Holmes.
Here.
Holzmeister.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Keene. Kidd.
Here.
Kermer.
Here.
Kramer. Lee.
Here.
Lilly.
Here.
McCulloch. Moltz.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Nagai Velasquez.
Here.
Owen.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Palenko.
Rocky.
Prey. Robbie.
Here.
Rafferty.
Here.
Richenberg.
Here.
Ramirez.
Here.
Shahasavari.
Here.
Shirky.
Here.
Sides. Stewart.
Here.
Strunk.
Here.
Sushanik.
Here.
Weaver. Zacco.
Here.
Okay, with that, we will now go into our first open period. So if you'll please close your laptops. And for our first open period, we have Gene Taylor, our K-State Athletics Director.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to come visit with you and just give you kind of a quick update on where we are in athletics. I could be up here for hours and talk about the settlement, which I will get to in a little bit. But the first thing I want to do is thank all of you and our students for their attendance this year. Has been phenomenal. I think we were sold out at every one of our football games in terms of attendance at capacity, and men's basketball always starts a little slow. And women's basketball has been great. You guys have been phenomenal the last couple of women's games. And just tell your colleagues that are still interested in coming that we need you. We got some big games coming up. Obviously, women's basketball is in a great position to possibly host some regionals as we get into the end of the season after they go to the conference tournament. And the men's basketball team still has some work to do. Tough road trip to Utah, but I think they could potentially put themselves back in the position of playing in the NCAA tournament. They've got a lot more work to do than the women, but it's just critical. I've said this before. Every time I come up here, the energy that the students bring to our athletic venues, particularly football and the basketballs and volleyball, has been phenomenal. We really need you. So those of you that attend, thank you very much. And for those of you that know folks that attend and buy the tickets, we really do appreciate it. It means a lot to our players and our coaches. And the success we have and the energy you bring is phenomenal. So thank you, and pass that on to all your colleagues that attend our games. We really, really appreciate it. The one thing I'm going to talk about, and hopefully get through it pretty quickly so I can open up for questions, because it is, the world of college athletics is changing. It's changing such a great deal, at such a fast pace, that we're all trying to figure out how to keep up with it. And it's based on a lawsuit that was brought to the NCAA by a group of student athletes a few years ago. It's called the House Case. It's named after a student athlete that swam at Arizona State. And it's a class action suit brought on by many athletes that felt that they should have shared in the revenue for their name, image, and likeness. A couple of years ago, we opened up what we called name, image, and likeness for student athletes. It really started with, oh gosh, I can't remember what class, Deuce Vaughn and those guys were the first earners of name, image, and likeness. And, you know, Deuce probably made $100,000 while he was here. And now these kids are making a lot more money because it's gotten away from true name, image, and likeness to pay for play. So now we've settled this lawsuit, this House Case, and it goes against the NCAA and the Power 5 or 4 conferences. And what that case is two-part. One part is any athlete from 2016 to 2023 that didn't, or 22, that didn't get to share a name, image, and likeness, there will be back pay to those former student athletes to the tune of about $2.6 billion. Those dollars will be paid out over 10 years, and anybody who played from 2016 to 2022 will get money if they opt in for those dollars. A guy like Patrick Mahomes, if you think of the amount of money he's making right now, could enter into that back pay and get some money for the years that he played and for his name, image, and likeness. Going forward is part of the new settlement that we all face, and we say we, every Division I Power 4 school, is they've agreed that 22% of the gross revenue of the Power 4 conference schools equals about $20,500,000 a year for each institution that we will now share with our student athletes. So that's $20 million of a new budget line item that we don't have currently, nor does anybody else across the country. And so that is what we've been working on. That's probably our number one focus in trying to figure out how we're going to do this. There's a lot of formulas out there that various schools are doing, but a majority of the money being paid will go to those sports that generate the most revenue. So football, men and women's basketball, probably some to volleyball and some to baseball. But all the other sports will get a little bit, but it'll be very little. So right now, most schools are giving about 70 to 75% of this $20,500,000 to football. This is the plan. It doesn't start till July 1st. They'll give about 20% of it to men's basketball. Women's basketball, depending on the institution, will get from 3 to 5%, and the rest of it will divide it up amongst the sports. The other thing is that we could add additional scholarships. So right now, a lot of our scholarships that we're going to add will go to the women's sports. So we're going to add about 36 scholarships. A majority of those go into our women's athletes. So that's a good thing for us and a good thing for our women's programs. But it's a massive challenge for us at K-State. And it's a challenge for us for a couple of reasons. A lot of schools across the country support their athletic programs through student fees, institutional dollars, tuition waivers, et cetera. We've never done that here. We haven't done it for a number of years. I'm not saying that's what we're going to go to. But for us, everything that we come up with, we have to do it based on our own revenue sources, our own donors. And so we have to figure this out between now and July 1st. If we don't figure it out and we can't continue to be successful, we're going to fall behind because other programs will take this $20.5 million, divide it amongst their athletes. It'll become a recruiting advantage for them if we don't meet those numbers. So that's where we are right now. There's a lot to it. I could stand up here and walk you through the whole thing, and it would take us the entire meeting, which you don't want to do and don't want to waste your time on that. But for us, it's literally the number one priority for all of our staff, all of our coaches, all of our student athletes. We continue to educate our student athletes about it. We continue to talk to our coaches, and we have a plan in place that we've worked on. And now we're beginning to have conversation with our donors to say, we need your help. This is our goal. It's a new fundraising initiative for us, just like we raised money for facilities a couple of years ago. This is basically our new facility campaign of basically $20,500,000 for the next 10 years. And then that number grows every 3 years by 4%. So 10 years from now, that number could be as high as $30 million. So that's our goal. That's our effort right now. But again, it's just another challenge that we're faced that I wish we didn't have to have it, but we do, and we just have to figure out how to come up with it. So with that, I'm literally going to stop. You can ask any question that I didn't cover. You know, our spring sports have started, baseball started, men and women's golf started. We've got a new soccer staff. She's awesome, and her staff is awesome. We've got a new track staff. They're awesome, and they're busy. Our indoor track program, we'll play in the conference championship here shortly. So any question you have about anything athletic-wise or this settlement, I'm happy to answer until my time runs out.
Vice President O'Malley, yeah.
Sorry, no mic. Carson, forgive me, but it's not really a question, but I just wanted to say thank you. You and Brian Smoller put out kind of a 3-part Athletics, the Future Explained video series. And I and a lot of my friends watched them and found them to be really beneficial and informative. So thank you for doing that. And I hope that type of format continues.
Well, thank you. I do a Ask the AD segment once about every month, and then we decided to do a 3-part series. Thank you for bringing that up. That if you're interested to learn more about the settlement, those 3-part series, each of them is about 10 minutes. You can find it on our website. And it's called Ask the AD. We did it kind of in 3 parts. We explained the settlement. We then talked about the value that K-State athletics brings to our community and our state, which is pretty significant. We bring about $500 million of revenue to the state through various the athletic events that we host. We bring about $23 million in tax revenue to the city of Manhattan. Our student athletes actually spend about $9 million a year in the local community. So we're very valuable to the state, and we began to share it. And then the third piece, which just came out last night, was about how we're going to need the help of our donors and our friends to pay for it. So, but thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Senator Kermer.
With Bill Snyder selling out every game, is there any plans in the future to expand the Stadium Bowl?
No, not right now. Again, if we didn't have this challenge, this new challenge, we would probably look at that because there are probably opportunities within the bowl to expand it or add, maybe some premium seats. So we're trying to take the stadium we have and make it the best we possibly can. But for an expansion anytime soon, other than updating some areas, it probably just isn't going to happen until we get this revenue sharing thing figured out.
Senator Shirkey.
If I may, I have 2 questions regarding the main topic of your speech, that money for student athletes. Can you repeat or clarify the percentage of revenue that will be given based on men versus women's sports?
Yeah, generally speaking, it's going to be based on the sports that generate the most revenue. And for us at K-State, football generates about 80% of our revenue that we have coming in. Yet we're not going to share 80% with football. We're going to probably share somewhere between 70 and 74%. Basketball brings in men's basketball brings in the next most revenue. They bring about 20%. Women's basketball brings about 5%. So we're going to probably share in those similar ranges for those sports. Yet we also want to share for the sports that don't bring in a lot of revenue, like soccer, baseball, volleyball, et cetera. And so they'll get a 0.5%, but they'll also get on the women's side a lot more scholarships than they're currently getting. And so that's how we're trying to balance it. But the revenue numbers, we still have to follow gender equity when it comes to the scholarship side. The revenue side is still very up for debate on how that's going to be managed. But most schools are doing it like we're doing it.
Mr. Speaker, I have a follow-up.
Granted.
And so I just want to make certain, because I suppose I might have misunderstood when you said it the first time. When you said like 20% for some of the men's sports and 5 to 3% for some of the women's sports, I thought that meant that a male athlete would be getting 4 times more compensation than a female athlete. That's not what's going on.
That's not what's going on.
Based on the revenue, the total revenue.
That's correct. That's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the follow-up question.
Senator Hoffman.
Yeah, a question you may not be able to answer over the settlement. You said it was a couple, $2 billion through the 6 years. Is that correct?
It's $2 billion back pay.
Yeah.
And those dollars are not coming from, well, they're not coming directly from us. They're coming from dollars that the NCAA has in reserve funds. Now, they will reduce the men's basketball tournament dollars we get. So instead of, so it's going to cut into us a little bit, but not like the 20 million.
Okay. And that, you may not know this, over those, I don't know how many student athletes there were in those 6 years, but 2.3 billion divided by all of them, how much is it?
You know, it depends. Again, the sport of football is going to get about 75% of that
Sure.
2 billion. Basketball, that's where the percentages came from for similar. I have my nephew played water polo at Bucknell during that time, and he's going to get $140.
Okay.
But I would say Patrick Mahomes is probably going to get in the, you know, the $20,000, $30,000, or $40,000 range in terms of those kind of dollars.
Thank you.
Senator Griffith.
So during your presentation, you said that other institutions take money from the students, and you said that you didn't want to have to do that. But like, how much of like a golden line in the sand is charging students?
Well, I would love to get a lot more revenue from the institution and the students, but we know that's not a reality here. You know, our institution, we made this agreement many years ago, long before I got here. I think when President Weefald was here, he looked at the current athletic director and said, you know what, we're having financial challenges on our campus. The campus was giving athletics quite a bit of money, and they said, you know, when I say quite a bit, probably $2 to $3 million. And they said, we need to not do that anymore. So John Curry was the athletic director at the time, so he said, John, you have to figure out where you're going to come up with that revenue. So John really got aggressive with fundraising and made it up. We had student fees for a while. When I got here in 2017, we were still getting about $300,000 from the students. And the first thing I did is said, you know what, that's probably not even worth, we don't really need to do that anymore. So we made an agreement, you know, let's just, but we do get money from you, don't we? You buy 6,500 season tickets in football and about 1,000 or 2. How many season tickets in basketball?
About 2.
About 2,000. So those dollars you are paying. We are getting dollars from you. So don't tell me don't misunderstand. We do, but direct student fees. We don't get direct student fees from students or tuition waivers or tuition discounts or anything like that. Our students, our out-of-state students, pay the same rate that any out-of-state student does.
President Vogelmoor.
What are you most excited for in K-State sports right now?
You know, quite a bit, really. I mean, I think I'm really excited with some energy with our track program right now and what they're doing. I'm really excited about our new soccer staff. I don't know how good or not good we'll be next year, but again, the energy. And I would tell you, women's basketball right now, they're just a really fun group to watch. Unfortunately, a lot of them are seniors, and they're, you know, this year we better enjoy it. And I bet they're going to be pretty good next year. Jeff Mindy's done a great job. And then as I look forward to next year in baseball, I think Coach Hughes could, you know, finally figure it out. I mean, it's always tough. Baseball starts out slow, and they'll pick it up. But when I look to next fall, I think Coach Kleiman right now feels really, really good about the football program he has. You know, there's always a lot that happens between now and then, and hopefully we stay healthy. But I think next year with Avery having another year under his belt and Dylan having such a great game, and our offensive line has been beefed up, no pun intended. Some really good defensive additions. I think Coach Kleiman, he's very conservative, but I think he feels really, really good about where our football program is. And I think going forward next year, that could be a lot of fun.
Caucus Leader Black.
Yeah, what does it mean to athletics and like the university as a whole for the women to host like they did last year and like they hopefully will this year?
It's huge. Obviously I don't know if we were sold out every game, but the games we played in were pretty close to sell out. Again, the energy it brought to the community, and then the exposure, because you're nationally exposed. Every game's on national TV. They see the arena, they see the energy, and I had so many compliments about, oh man, your women's basketball program, they got it rolling. Because a lot of places that host those first round regional games, unless you're University of Connecticut, sometimes those stadiums, last year Iowa hosted, they were obviously with the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, they were filled. But very few women's programs drive the energy and the crowds like our program. And you see that when you go around the Big 12. But a national regional exposure is huge for a lot of reasons, and recruiting is one of them. But just the attention it brings to our campus as well, because they spend a lot of time talking about how great the campus is and how great the university is during those broadcasts.
Chair Sushanek.
Has there ever been any discussion of creating an aquatic facility to bring in a couple more sports?
Yeah. Believe me, the swimming pool is wanted on a campus for a lot of reasons, more than just an athletic program. And unfortunately, we just closed down and tore the one up we had here. There's not a campus I've been on that doesn't have a pool, that wants a pool. I don't know that if we had a pool and we had a brand new pool, whether we would add a swimming program or not, just because of getting where we are from a financial perspective. But those discussions now would go beyond us in athletics in terms of adding a swimming pool or an Olympic swimming pool. But I do know that having a pool on campus for the other students and generally is a phenomenal thing. And I've been now to 2 campuses out of multiple that didn't have pools, and it was a challenge it really was. And when I was at North Dakota State, we had a pool, we had to close it down, same kind of deal, and we weren't able to replace it on campus. But that's a discussion that we won't have from a varsity sports perspective, but maybe someday down the road for the campus perspective it might.
Time for questions has expired.
Are there any further questions? Okay. Do you have a question, Philip?
No, I was just preemptively raising my hand to extend the time for questions, assuming someone else would have some.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, thank you.
Well, just thank you again very much for having me, and enjoy the rest of your meeting, and I'll come back anytime. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Are there any further first open period speakers? Okay, seeing none, we will now go into the approval of the minutes. The minutes were passed out yesterday along with the agenda and legislation tracking information. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Senator Black.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Is there an objection? The minutes will stand approved, and we will now go into announcements. 1, proxies. If you're going to be absent from a student senate meeting, please fill out this link, even if you aren't sure if your absence will be excused. 2, if you'll be physically absent from Student Senate but would still like to attend via Zoom, please fill out the Student Senate Zoom request form, and Speaker Quest will review requests based on the Student Senate attendance policy. Please submit requests here. 3, want to give props to someone in Student Senate, fill out the Senate shout-out form, and Speaker Pro Tem Hesseltine will read them at the end of our meeting. Fill out your shout-outs here. 4, the SGA Member of the Week is Chase Glasscock. Chase is a veteran of the Student Services Fee Committee and continues to provide good discussion, ask good questions, and be a trustworthy member. 5 is the upcoming events calendar, and the quote of the week is, "We must act with energy, decision, and unity if we are to succeed," by John A. McDonald. With that, we will now go into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Chair Lilly.
So obviously we have an expulsion this week. I have pointedly not really said a lot about the expulsions to date because some of it could potentially contain medical information about their, or just any other personal information about their situation that doesn't necessarily need to be public, but I have no power to make it private. So I have kept most of it under wraps. I emailed 9 people total in the first round, 4 of which immediately resigned, 4 of which responded, 1 of which didn't. And that is the expulsion tonight, is the person that did not respond. And then this week I've emailed 4 other people. As for the timing, I talked with the Emerging Leaders coordinators last semester about filling Senate seats with emerging leaders, and we agreed that it was probably a better idea to wait until they were in phase 2. So that is what I am working on now, and that is why we are doing the expulsions now.
Are there any questions? Senator Shirkey.
You already mostly answered it. I was going to ask about the timing. Are there any other reasons that might be relevant to the Senate as to why expulsions had not, occurred a lot earlier? The example that I give is that the one here, it said like 10 or 11 absences or something, and so with all due respect, it begs the obvious question: why didn't this happen 8 absences ago?
Yeah, of course. Because frankly, they were the only person up for expulsion, and at the time we were focused on recruitment, and there were other empty seats in that caucus. So rather than go through the process for one person, I waited until there were multiple.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Are there any further committee chairs who would like to report? Seeing none, are there any directors who would like to give a report? Vice President O'Malley.
What's up, guys? I'll be quick. You're going to get an email from me later tonight about the SGA Awards Banquet. For now, you get this from me. I learned today that ChatGPT could make flyers, and that's been my new hobby. So this is a product of that. But March 4th, it's a Tuesday, 6 p.m., 7:30. It's in the Union Courtyard, so if you were at the candidate forum today, Cats on the Mic, it's in that same spot. So you're going to get more details from me in the email, specifically about how to nominate people for some of the different awards we have and for some of the superlatives. We're going to have food there. It's going to be a good time. And yeah, so when I send an email, please read it. So it doesn't always spell things right, but I know what to do.
Oh, yeah. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you.
I'll say this in the email too, but I would really encourage everyone to be there. First of all, because it's a great way to celebrate our achievements, but also because Amy and Craig, the 2 alumni who have donated a lot of money to go towards some scholarships we're going to give out that night, are going to be there as well. So I think it's really important for us as an organization to put this organization in a good light, especially when they're coming to spend some time with us. It should be fun.
Okay, are there any further directors who would like to give a report? Elections Commissioner Kermer.
So Cats on the Mic was today, and it went really well. They thanked everybody that was there and the candidates. That is also where the cookies came from, so feel free to take as many cookies as you want because there are a lot left. I will spare you the time of listening through all the numbers. If you want to know the specifics about where your college is looking at filings right now, come see me over at my computer. But I will tell you that from last week, we've had 30 more people file, so which is fantastic, especially when we had like 5 people file from last week. So,
Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Are there any further directors who would like to give a report? Okay, seeing none, we are going to swear in a new senator. We confirmed last week, I think, so if you want to come up, Keelan, and get sworn in. Okay, if you will raise your right hand and say, "I will," at the end. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Student Senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association.
I will.
Okay, so if you want to give your name, hometown, favorite smell, and major.
Okay. I'm Kaylin Phillips. I'm from Topeka. My favorite smell is, that's a great question. I don't know. And my major is environmental engineering.
Okay, with that, we will now go into the introduction of allocations. Is there a motion to consider the allocations? Chair Strong.
Move to introduce the allocation.
Second.
Okay, the allocations are Bill 59, FY25 student allocation to 1863 Barbell Club. They requested $840 and were recommended $750. Next is Bill 60, FY25 allocation to the American Choral Directors Association Student Chapter. They requested $2,000 and were recommended $750. Next is Bill 61, FY25 allocation to the fishing team. They requested $2,000 and were recommended $1,500. Next is Bill 62. They request Bill 62, FY26 allocation to Kappa Kappa Psi Tau Beta Sigma. They requested $1,500 and were recommended $1,500. With that, we will now go into introduction of legislation. The first is Bill 63, increase of the Campus Entertainment Fund. Is there a motion to consider? Senator Griffith.
Move to consider Bill 63.
Second.
Okay, if the author will please come forward.
Could I get a motion to summarize for the contract language?
Senator Glasscock.
Move to allow the speaker to summarize.
Second.
Is there an objection? The author can summarize.
Increase of the Campus Entertainment Fund. Whereas Student Services Fee Committee reviewed the allocation request of the Campus Entertainment Fund in accordance with their regularly scheduled review, whereas the Student Services Fee Committee's allocation to CEF supports their efforts to bring renowned entertainers and performers to campus, whereas UPC provides these events at little to no cost to students. Whereas these events are also open to members of the public who are regularly charged admission, whereas CEF should increase the charge of community members to attend CEF-funded major events, whereas CEF is funded at $123,675 for FY25, whereas the Student Services Fee Committee is recommending $150,018 for FY26, 27, and 28. And the report was accepted by the Student Senate for this contract. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee has deemed this increase necessary due to the competitive nature of the entertainment industry and the need to combat inflation. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee voted 7-0 to recommend the Student Senate the following Student Services Fee Agreement. And then the rest of this bill is simply the Campus Entertainment Fund Student Services Fee Agreement, which breaks down when their funding will be reviewed and how much they are being allocated every year. We also see the definition for major event shall be defined as an event with the artist's performance fee greater than or equal to $20,000. And then it is important to note that Campus Entertainment Fund, here number 4, shall only be used to fund the major events programmed by the Union Program Council.
Okay. Golly. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Shirkey.
Yeah, so I have a question about, the magnitude of the increase, right? You gave a little bit of justification on line 26, but how did you guys settle on 150K from a little over 125?
I think that idea comes from the fact that if the committee feels that if we are going to bring a major event to campus, we might as well be doing it right. There's no point in putting a lot of money towards something to bring somebody who isn't a very well-known or renowned entertainer that most students don't know well. And we're already putting a good deal of money towards that. So we might as well go all in and put a lot of eggs in this basket to make sure that if we're spending a good deal of money on an expensive event, that it's a very good event and it is well worth our money and time. Because as you can imagine, the more renowned and popular an entertainer, the more expensive they get, and especially when we are competing with other schools both in the area and across the country to have certain entertainers on the same weekend and competing against them for other contracts. It's nice to have a competitive dollar amount we can put forward.
Are there any further questions or corrections for the author? Senator Morris.
Do we know who's going to be this year?
Some people do. They've selected somebody, and it will be announced at a later date.
Are there any further questions or corrections for the author?
Carson knows who it is too.
Yes, I do.
Find his car later.
Senator Richenberg, do you have a question? Okay. Okay, seeing no further questions, thank you. We will now go to Bill 64, increase of the union program council allocation. Is there a motion to consider? Senator Shirkey.
I move to consider Bill 64.
Second.
Senator Griffith.
I move to allow the author to forego the initial summary reading.
Second.
Is there an objection? Okay, the author may summarize.
Increase to the Union Program Council allocations. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee reviewed the allocation request by the Union Program Council in accordance with their regularly scheduled review. Whereas UPC strives to provide educational, cultural, and social experiences for the K-State community and seeks to develop leaders and enhance the quality of life of students through their programming. Whereas UPC regularly partners with other student organizations to help facilitate their events. Whereas these events create campus culture and community while providing students with a safe and comfortable environment to unwind. Whereas UPC is currently funded at $170,686 for FY25, whereas UPC presented on a 0% increase, a 3% increase, and a 5% increase. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee is recommending $175,807 for FY26, 27, and 28, and the report was accepted by the Student Senate for this contract, which represents a 3% increase over their current allocation. Whereas this increase partially mitigates a decrease in programming. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee voted 7-0 to recommend to the Student Senate the following Student Services Fee Agreement. And then once again, we have pretty standard contract, I believe with no changes from the contract that they are currently operating under beyond spelling.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We will now move to Resolution 61, KSU SGA support of a K-State and Manhattan Indoor Aquatics Facility Partnership. Is there a motion to consider the resolution? Chair Strunk.
I move to consider Resolution 61.
Second.
Is there an objection? The author will please come forward.
Resolution 242561, KSU SGA support of a K-State and Manhattan Indoor Aquatics Facility Partnership. Authors Brandon Kermer, sponsors Anna Koch, Brian Blood, Alexa Heseltine, Benjamin Carton, Andrew Lee, Philip Shirkey, Byron Sides, Gavin Strunk, and Carson S. Cuesta. Whereas Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU SGA, is obligated to advocate for initiatives that benefit the Kansas State University student body. KSU closed and demolished its natatorium in 2020, leaving a void in indoor aquatic services at KSU and the city of Manhattan, whereas the KSU campus master plan is nearing completion, with plans to be finalized and released this spring and fall. Whereas there's currently no plan to include a new indoor aquatics facility in the updated KSU campus master plan. Whereas the Swim and Dive Club at KSU requested $6,600 from the Student Allocations Committee in October 2024 to cover their pool rental at Genesis Health Club, noting that the rental fees continue to increase. Whereas the City of Manhattan Parks and Recreation has recognized the need for an indoor aquatics facility following strong public input to address the gap left by the demolition of the K-State Natatorium. Whereas the City of Manhattan Parks and Recreation Master Plan titled Move MHK includes a proposal for a 80,000 square foot indoor aquatics facility in City Park, featuring an open recreational swimming area, competitive lap lanes, and inclusive amenities. Whereas Manhattan High School and KSU have both been included in discussions with the City of Manhattan Parks and Recreation about a potential partnership. Whereas KSU provided a memo in 2022 that made it clear that they would not be able to provide funding for the project, but were supportive of engaging in the conversation. And whereas the health benefits of swimming include improved cardiovascular health, better sleep, and stress management, which are all extremely important for college students and should be of importance to the university. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association expresses its full support for the City of Manhattan Parks and Recreation's initiative to build a new indoor aquatics facility as described in the MOVE MHK Master Plan. Section 2, the KSU SGA urges Kansas State University administration to reassess and re-engage in discussions with the City of Manhattan Parks and Recreation to foster a strong partnership between the city, Manhattan High School, and KSU aimed at enhancing the quality of life for KSU students. Section 3, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the City of Manhattan Parks and Recreation Director Aaron Stewart, the Manhattan City Commission, Manhattan Ogden Unified School District Superintendent Eric Reed, Manhattan High School Principal Michael Dorst, Morrison Family Associate Vice President for Student Wellbeing Kathleen Hatch, Associate Vice President for Facilities Casey Lauer, Vice President for Administration and Finance Ethan Erickson, Vice President for Academic Success and Student Affairs and Dean of Students Dr. Thomas Lane, and University President Dr. Richard H. Linton.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We will now move to Resolution 62, expulsion of a College of Agriculture student senator. Is there a motion to consider the resolution? Caucus Leader Moltz.
I move to consider. Second.
Is there an objection? The author will please come forward.
Expulsion of College of Agriculture student senator, authors Joseph Lilly, sponsors Senate Operations Committee. Whereas Section 20113 Part D of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association statutes states that the Senate attendance policy states the Senate attendance policy and states that a total of 3 unexcused absences shall be grounds for expulsion. Whereas the Senate Operations Committee is charged with initiating expulsion consideration as outlined in the KSU SGA bylaws, Article 4, Section 11, Part H3E. Whereas Brayton Bruggen, student senator for the College of Agriculture, has missed over 11 meetings of Student Senate. Whereas Senator Bruggen has not attended a meeting of Student Senate since October 2024. Whereas Senator Bruggen has not provided the Senate Operations Committee with any reasoning for his extended absence. And whereas the Senate Operations Committee voted unanimously to recommend Senator Bruggen to be expelled as a student senator for the College of Agriculture, be it resolved that Section 1, Senator Brayton Bruggen be expelled as a senator for the College of Agriculture.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Kromer.
Line 23 should be recommend instead of recommended.
Are there any further questions or corrections for the author? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Chair Koch.
I move to special order resolution 62.
Second.
Is there an objection? Okay, seeing none.
I go back to arguing, right?
No. The motion is debatable, and the person who has the first rights to speak is Chair Koch.
Hey guys, I hate that we're in this position where we have to expel someone, but this senator has never shown up to any of my committee meetings, and we have been having an issue with quorum because of that. So I urge you guys to vote to special order this so that we don't have to worry about quorum and strategic oversight.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive on the motion to special order, is there a debate in the negative? Seeing none, is there a debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Okay, seeing none, we will now take a hand vote on the motion to special order Resolution 63. If you're in favoring of special ordering the resolution, Please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too. Okay, you can lower them and the motion passes. We will now go into a hand vote on Resolution 62, expulsion of a College of Agriculture student senator. If you are in favor of passing the resolution,
The vote would be out of order.
that's a good point. We will now go into debate on Resolution 62. If the author will please come forward. What a save.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. He has not been here since October, has not responded to any emails, and has failed to provide any reasoning, and was given numerous chances. So this one's pretty cut and dry, I think.
Seeing as I was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Seeing none, is there any debate in the positive? Senator Byers.
Hey guys, so I know my plaque doesn't say it, but I'm caucus leader for the College of Agriculture, and I have, not to like hit the nail on the head again, but I have met him once, not at a Senate event. So he's really not contributing very much to our college. I'd really love to get someone in here who cares about the College of Ag issues, who's speaking for our college. So it'd be really great if we could make some more room for people who really want to be involved. Thank you.
Seeing as there was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Seeing none, is there any further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Okay, seeing none, we will now go into a hand vote on Resolution 62. If you are in favor of Resolution 62, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too. Okay, you can lower them. All opposed, same sign. Okay, and any abstentions? Okay, seeing none, Resolution 62 will pass on a hand vote. And we will now move to consider Resolution 63, Resolution for a Safe Campus. Is there a motion to consider? Senator Griffith.
I move to consider Resolution 63.
Second.
Is there an objection? Okay, if the author will please come forward. Chair Lilly.
I move to dispense with the introductory.
Objection.
Okay, it has been moved, seconded, and objected to allow the author to summarize. If you are in favor of allowing the author to summarize, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too.
Dispense with it as in get rid of it entirely, not allow them to summarize.
Say again?
Dispense with it as in they don't read it at all, not allow them to summarize.
Okay, if you are in favor of that, please raise your placards now. If you're in favor of not letting the author read the bill, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too. Okay, thank you. If you are opposed to that motion, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too. Okay, the motion will fail and the author will read the bill.
Oh, Mr. Speaker,
Senator Shirkey.
I move to allow the author to summarize if they wish.
Objection.
Okay, it's been moved, seconded, and objected to allow the author to summarize. If you are in favor of allowing the author to summarize, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too. Okay, you can lower them. If you're opposed, same sign. Okay, you can lower them. And any abstentions? Okay, the motion will fail, and the author will read the entirety of the legislation.
I love that. I was gonna read it the whole way through. I think anyway. Okay, this is an updated one that has a bit more sponsors on it and a little bit and an extra whereas clause. And no resolution number, so I'll send it to you, Carson. Resolution 2425, 63, right? Yeah, 63. Safe Campus Resolution authors Jacob Hoffman, Nick McKee Rist. Sponsors Alondra Alvarez, Max Black, Rosa Estrada, Darlene Ferris Stryker, Sophia Glanville, Vivian Griffith, Emma Holmes, Jordan Kramer, Nayeli Martinez, Edwin Murillo Amaya, Andrew Navarro, Jahid Resendez, Ben Richenberg, Daniel Robertson, Yeretzi Rodriguez Medina, Nohe Rojas, Varisha. That one's bad. That's my fault. Vahij Sheshavari, Manuel Soto Salinas, Gracie Jo Stanton, Samantha Sushanik, Philip Shirkley, Maria Velasco, Katie West. So sorry for that. Whereas the Department of Homeland Security will begin to raid colleges and other public spaces where children and young adults gather, removing a previously held guideline as reported by ABC News on January 22nd. Whereas migration to this country is often propelled by social, economic, and political factors as well as native country conditions, which can result from U.S. government and corporate policies and interests. Whereas undocumented immigrants and their families are entitled to compassionate and humane treatment in this country, whereas undocumented immigrants are constitutionally protected under the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendments from unreasonable search and seizures, right to due process, and the right to education, among others. Whereas ICE and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has been identified in Olathe as well as Wichita and was cited in Manhattan by La Estilla and Frontage Road on January 29th. Whereas ICE activities pertaining to immigration enforcement in and around campus, as well as in student housing on and off campus, would be a severe disruption to the learning environment and educational setting for students, faculty, and staff, as well as prospective students and their families, whereas there have been over 250 signatures by students and community members petitioning for a safer campus that protects undocumented immigrants. Whereas the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, regulates that universities are not to share student records without the prior consent of the student or their family, whereas judicial subpoenas that request FERPA information must be complied with. Administrative subpoenas, which are issued by ICE, are not enforceable on their own without an order from the U.S. District Court as publicized by the President's Alliance. Whereas other colleges across the nations have policies in place to ensure their administration does not comply with ICE unless legally bound, whereas even when legally bound, these colleges direct ICE agents to wait and alert their legal departments in order to ensure ICE compliance with the law, whereas these other colleges include, but are not limited to, Northeastern Illinois University, University of California and its campuses, the University of Illinois, the University of Marquette, and the University of Kansas. Whereas Kansas State University, KSU, has a website titled Immigration Updates and Resources that provides information about FERPA requirements and protections, ICE access to campus, student rights, as well as steps that faculty and staff should take if contacted by ICE. Whereas this website is a good backbone, but requires more substance to ensure a well-defined body is made out of said backbone. Whereas explicit language that prevents or limits the sharing of information, equipment, and any and all resources with ICE should be stated on said website. Whereas such language should contain the following: campus police will not aid ICE immigration efforts, prohibition of communication initiated by KSU to ICE or other federal immigration agencies containing information about students, a refusal of all voluntary information sharing with ICE to the fullest possible extent of the law, an immediate refusal of access to campus when asked by ICE agents, which should be reviewed by general counsel to determine whether to reverse the denial, and a promise to not enter into agreements with ICE or other immigration enforcement agencies, among others. Whereas, by ensuring that campus police will not aid ICE efforts, undocumented students will not face a disincentive to report crime. Whereas, KSU should ensure that all faculty and staff are aware and knowledgeable of what to do in the case an ICE agent approaches them with immigration concerns. Whereas, KSU should also develop procedures for notifying students if ICE is attempting to gain information about them and attempt to help affect families of students displaced due to ICE efforts. And whereas Kansas State University Governing Association, KSU-SGA, also has a responsibility to the students it represents to adequately inform them of their constitutional rights. Be resolved that, Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU-SGA, recommends that Kansas State University, KSU, enhance the current immigration policy to better protect students by including the following below on their Immigration Updates and Procedures website. Add specific language that KSU will refuse all voluntary information sharing with immigration agents to the fullest extent possible under the law. Communication stated by KSU or KSU staff with immigration agents of the government concerning any personally identifiable information PID of students shall be prohibited unless consent is given by the student. An explicit statement that requests for access to campus by immigration agents will be initially denied, forwarded to General Counsel and Dr. Thomas Lane for review on whether to reverse the denial. The request for access should only be reversed if the immigration agent provides a warrant signed by an appropriate judge that specifies the name of the person under arrest, as well as written authority from ICE instructing them to enter KSU property and describes the reason they are requesting entry. Additionally, when such a request is made, the immigration agent's credentials, why they are requesting access, and a warrant signed by an appropriate judge should be requested. An explicit statement that requests for information of KSU students by immigration agents shall be initially denied, forwarded to General Counsel and Dr. Thomas Lane for review on whether to reverse the denial according to the following guidelines. No part of a student's education record may be divulged with PID to any person, organization, or agency unless there is Informed written consent by the student if the student is 18 years of age or older, or otherwise by the parent or guardian. A valid court order or judicial warrant requesting such information in such cases prior to complying with such court order or judicial warrant. The student, if the student is 18 years of age or older, or otherwise the parent or guardian, shall be notified immediately in writing of the information that is the subject of the court order or judicial warrant. A health and safety emergency and disclosure of PID from an education record to appropriate parties is necessary to protect the health or safety of the student or other individuals, or another reason to do so that is required by law. Questions concerning the validity of a court order or judicial warrant, or whether there is a health and safety emergency or other possible reasons for releasing educational records that contain PID, should be directed to General Counsel and Dr. Thomas Lane. KSU Campus Police will create a policy acknowledging that they have no authority to enforce immigration law and will not participate in immigration enforcement efforts. And this includes, but is not limited to, holding students on ICE detainers, responding to ICE notifications or transfer requests, making arrests on civil immigration warrants, allowing ICE to use campus facilities, requesting information about immigration status from crime victims and witnesses, contacting, detaining, questioning, or arresting an individual on the basis of being undocumented, or to discover the immigration status of an individual, except as required by law. KSU will not enter into any agreements with state or local law enforcement agencies, ICE, or any other federal agency for the enforcement of federal and state immigration law, except as required by law. KSU will not use any resources to help any federal effort to create a registry based on protected characteristics, including, for example, race, religion, sexual orientation, among others. Further clarification over what is public versus restricted versus limited spaces, specifically with regard to hallways or other areas that students may use when arriving or leaving from class or professors' office hours, for example. Clarification over Step 8 under the Student Guidance tab on the website, specifically answering the question that is asked. Section 2, KSU should ensure that all faculty and staff are aware and knowledgeable of these policies to ensure that student well-being and safety is always prioritized. Section 3, the KSU SGA DEIB Committee, as well as the Multicultural Affairs Director, should work together to provide information on the rights of citizens to their student body to better protect themselves from immigration enforcement efforts at the discretion of the chair and director on how to best do so. Section 4, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Provost and Vice President Dr. Jesse Mendez, Vice President of Access and Opportunity Dr. Rhonda Johnson, Vice President of Academic Success and Dean of Students Dr. Thomas Lane, Faculty Senate, Assistant Vice President of Student Belonging and Inclusion Mirta Chavez, Assistant Vice President for Access and Opportunity Corey Williamson, Special Outside Counsel to the President Stephen Owens, General Counsel, Senior Associate General, that's wrong on there. Assistant Vice President and Chief of Campus Police, Ronnie Grice, Chief of Staff, Dr. Marshall Stewart, and Kansas State President, Dr. Richard H. Linton. Should have brought my water bottle up here.
Senator Shirkey.
I don't think I should be recognized yet. I had a correction of question, but you haven't asked for those yet, so I'm gonna let you do that.
Are there any questions or corrections, Senator Shirkey?
I have a correction on line, 2 lines under section 4.
Yes.
The words faculty senate are just stated. Presumably there's someone in faculty senate we're supposed to send this to, but since it's not stated, I guess that's a correction.
Yeah, that's I didn't. I've not had contact with Faculty Senate. I just put that there, so I don't know a good person to send it to.
Chair Lilly.
Faculty Senate is not supposed to be in it. I edited that out.
This is I added more sponsors and I wanted that, but that's my fault. Well, we'll get through it.
Senator Kermer.
Are bullet points and a legislation best practice?
You can do them, whether or not, I don't have an opinion other than that, I guess. Chair Koch.
For line 150, DIB should be spelled out. For all of the bullet points, should there be periods after them? That's a genuine question.
When the chair says line 150, they mean the first line of section 3.
Oh, are you saying after the sections, should there be periods?
No, like on the bullet points. At the end of the bullet point, should there be periods instead of semicolons for some of them?
I don't think so, but maybe. I don't know. Senator Byers.
As a public government funded university, is this something that we can actually do? Can we do this? Because ICE is like a federal government entity and we're a public federally funded university.
Yeah. So there's a lot of nuance in this, and I don't think I'll be able to answer it completely. But ICE, we are a public university, so ICE is able to come onto campus, go on anywhere that is not locked by doors. There's a whole on that website in one of these. Whereas clauses that ask for a better clarification of what spaces ICE is and is not allowed to enter into. But yes, we are allowed to do this. Campus is in the same way that we are legally required, if we were to be legally required by ICE through a warrant that was signed by an appropriate judge, if we would have to be compelled to comply with that. We are in the same but opposite way, not we do not have to comply with ICE until it is completely legally bounding. That was a horrible explanation of this. I can talk later, but yeah.
Yeah, granted.
So this is just like clarification of like what explicitly ICE can and cannot do.
So
And their parameters.
yes. So the purpose of this bill is this website that they have is basically saying that K-State is not going to give any FERPA information to ICE. The idea of this is to make stronger statements that K-State will not cooperate with ICE if they are not legally bound to. Because right now there is everything in this website, like I said, just says we do not share PID information. The goal of it is to make it a lot stronger language.
Congressman Moltz.
I'm just curious, have you sat down with General Counsel and reviewed this? Have you reached out to the office at all, had them look at the legislation? Or if not General Counsel, have you reached out to our judicial branch so that they could read this resolution over?
Regardless of the last part, Andrew Navarro is a sponsor of this bill, and he is our current AG. General Counsel specifically, no. I have talked to Dr. Lane, though, and I believe he represents General Counsel. And that conversation was very good. He brought in, I changed this bill pretty significantly after that meeting. He had some good points. But I felt like that the purpose of this bill, he did not give me the answers that I wanted to see, and that would have made this bill not necessary. But yes, I have talked to them, and I look forward to, hopefully after this bill passes, working with Dr. Lane in order to make these changes actually come true.
Chair Lee.
Senator K just had some corrections on line 187, I believe.
On this one.
I guess on the other document. On line 163, Dr. Lynch's name, or the title, and then the provost. Yeah. I'm just reading off the chat. So
The sponsorships are messed up on the Word doc, but they were fixed.
Yeah, and that's my fault. I liked all the sponsored names. I wanted to mess them up.
Senator Stewart.
Just out of curiosity, do we have numbers for how many undocumented immigrants are actually here at K-State? Just to see how many people this is actually affecting, just to keep that in mind.
It's not public, or at least not something that I didn't ask Dr. Lane this directly, but he does have a pretty good idea of how many students are undocumented here, and a lot of that is from K-State. Kansas has a program that any undocumented migrants are able, if they go to a high school in Kansas for 4 years, they're able to get in-state tuition. And so based off of those scholarships, K-State has a pretty good idea of how many students are undocumented here. Yeah.
Senator Ellen.
I don't have a very good grasp on how some of these bills are supposed to be done. However, my question is, the whereas section that starts with such language should contain, that sounds like it's the resolution that should be down at the bottom, not at the top. I have it as line 60, but I think it's changed.
Yeah, it's 65, I think.
It is, okay, 60. So that entire section, that reads like it's the resolution down at the bottom. Should that not be down at the bottom?
It is down in the bottom. I was talking with Chair Lilly a little bit, and we decided just to keep it. But yes, most of that is in the be resolved down below. Yeah. Is it extra? Maybe.
Chair Lilly.
Point of information, I will be going to whatever committee this is referred to kind of workshop it a little bit. We edited it on the conference room computer, so I actually had to edit it again Wednesday night. And that was kind of rushed because the agenda was waiting on it. So this will take some more work. I'm aware of that.
Thank you, Chair Whitley.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I do.
Senator Griffith.
You mentioned in one of the whereas clauses a petition signed by over 250 students. Should any of our members wish to sign it, where would we find it?
I'll direct that to Daniel back in the back.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Co-chair of the YDSA, one of the sponsors named in the bill. I have a QR code that everyone can scan at the end if you'd like to sign the petition. We're at about 300 plus students that have signed so far.
There you go. I bet also if you send that to me, I can send that to Andrew, and we can go up there during second open period and talk about it.
Senator Holzmeister.
So I'm trying to figure out what this actually does. That actually means something that will have a real impact. Because I'm looking at FERPA, and it's not like the university's just willy-nilly handing away student data without the student's signature, without the student's knowledge. They would need a warrant or a subpoena to get access to that. So I guess I'm confused on what meaningful change, if any, does this actually have on students? Because I think the law enforcement can just go around and ignore this altogether, which they will, and it won't do anything besides just kind of virtue signaling.
So there's a couple different points that I would like to address here. First, not all of this is just language change on the website. Section 2 is directly deals. Is it Section 2? Section 2 is asking K-State to make sure that administration are aware of practices to protect students and to make sure, because right now if ICE agents cannot go into a classroom, but they can very well just wait outside a classroom and wait for you to just come outside and start harassing you. There is a goal to have administration be able to protect students by helping them know their rights. Section 3 brings SGA into it, and hopefully I brought some red cards actually. If you guys haven't seen these, they're little pieces of paper. I know, crazy, that tell you your rights as any student, any person in the state in the country, that you don't have to and how to work with ICE. So I'm hoping to work with Andrew Lee and his chair Lee and Director Chifke to collaborate something to get information out to students in order to help better protect them. Now to the overall, the main part of the bill, yes, a lot of it is statements, and the goal of them is to help students feel more comfortable approaching staff and admin and knowing that they won't be kicked out of the school, kicked out of the nation. By having K-State have statements that explicitly guarantee that they will not share any information, any optional information, which you're right, they won't share any FERPA information, but there's nothing right there, as of right now, that explicitly has them saying that we will not share any optional information.
Senator Shirky.
I have two questions for the author. So the first one is more of a financial question, so you might not be able to answer it, but do undocumented students at the university pay into the student services fee that we operate on?
Yeah, I don't know definitively, but I would assume yes. I mean, if they're offered in-state tuition, if they've gone to high school here, but yes, the same way they would pay tuition, they would pay student services fee dollars.
I have a follow-up, Mr. Speaker.
Granted.
For section 3, are there any other groups besides the DEIB committee and multicultural affairs directors, such as international affairs directors, some other members of cabinet, judicial, any other SGA resources that you believe should be used for this purpose?
Yeah, I reached out to the international affairs director, Director Mansour, and I'm working with him to try to get him on board. Beyond SGA, I've reached out to ICCC or ISSS, ICC, the International Student Coordinating Council, and they didn't seem like this was something they wanted to take on. But I have met with some student groups like Halo, and I think this is something not only within SGA that we can cooperate within and work on, but using other student orgs that have a greater reach than SGA is I think probably more important than within internal SGA communications, and using all of our resources is vital, I think.
Thank you.
Are there any other further, Vice President O'Malley?
Yeah, I just wanted to get your take on just what I've heard some other people talk about this in reference to, and that's that we have, and they do have numbers for it, we have a very, very, very small population of undocumented students at K-State. And I've heard some bring the concern that by putting something so public out there that we want the university to resist a federal agency, we're putting more pressure on those undocumented students, who I would argue ICE probably isn't coming to campus anytime soon unless we decide to make a big deal out of this. So I just wanted to get your opinion on maybe that line of reasoning.
Yeah, thank you. This is something I've debated intensely myself, and a big concern that I brought when I talked to Halo on Monday, something that I brought up to them. And frankly, if Halo had said to me right there that this is something that we don't like, because Halo I think is probably going to represent the most students that are going to be impacted by this. If they said that this was going to bring negative attention, like you said, I would have dropped the bill. Full honesty. However, they didn't. They threw their full support on this, and that's something that I really took to heart to keep fighting for, because yes, the population is small on campus. I want to guess it's probably in the 10 to 30 area, probably on the lesser side of that. But if this bill has a chance of helping any students, that is something I'm willing to do, and something I'm willing to fight for. And I hope you can see I don't usually write legislation, but I hope you can see that this bill was not intended to put a target on their backs, and really to help them.
Senator Holzmeister.
Have you thought about potential backlash from lawmakers or university donors?
Yeah, this in the same way that, yes, I have. But I believe that I think this bill can have a potential to make a change and to protect students. And I think our role as student government is to help students any way we can. So if this bill has the chance to even help one person, I would be very happy that I did it. And I think to address the previous point, I don't know if ICE is going to come to campus, right? I don't know if any ICE raids, I guess, on college campuses. But I'm not willing to take the chance, because they're in Manhattan, they're in Kansas, they're across the nation, obviously. I mean, it's a federal department. I'm not willing to take a chance to leave students without everything that we can give them to help.
Are there any further Senator Erickson?
So I have a question for you that starts with like a little bit of like a prelude, I guess. So in my department, all the faculty and staff are briefed. Like I teach a class, so we got all this briefing. Are you just strictly you just want this put on the website? Because like Dr. Lane has already basically given us all these points. Like hallways versus classrooms, warrants versus the other thing, you just want it put out there on the website, or like, I kind of come back to the goal part that previous senators asked, you know, like, because most of this stuff is already happening. You just want it put on the website for everybody to see.
I think putting it on the website for students to be able to look at and have definitive, easy to see proof that this university is not going to, I don't have a good term, sell them out, that's not the right term, but I think it will help students have safety in their campus. And I'm glad to hear that the KSU staff is doing that. But that's only one part of this bill, right? It's utilizing SGA and utilizing other campus organizations to promote information out to all students is something that the university has not done. And that's something that we are very capable of doing.
Are there any further, Chair Lee?
I guess, Jacob, my question to you is, like, after with Dr. Lane, has like, the university expressed concern about the response, if you were to pass it, the possible response from the state legislature and federal government?
There was a little concern, but not from this bill. I would not say. I mean, I don't. How many of our bills get state attention, right? This is a hot topic. Maybe it'll be picked up, but working on historical precedent, I don't think that's a fear of mine of this getting picked up.
Any further questions or corrections? Senator Owen.
I think this is a point of order just for everyone. Point of information thing. It is not illegal for an undocumented person to go to K-State and to get an education. And as the speaker has said, there are programs in place in the state of Kansas that gives scholarships to individuals who are undocumented who meet certain criteria of going to public schools or high schools in Kansas. So I think that's important for everyone to understand that it's not illegal for them to be here at K-State.
Yep. Yeah, thank you.
Any further questions or corrections? Chair Sushanek.
I guess, is it a mischaracterization to say that this bill is just asking the university to require a warrant before giving over personal information?
Is it? I get. What can you explain on what you mean by that? I'm sorry.
I guess, does that summarize the point as to being legally required to turn over information? Could that essentially be restated as ICE must bring forth a warrant before any information would be disclosed?
I mean that's a part of the bill. If you go to the first be it resolves, it's having a policy that any ICE contact with students or any administration has to be forwarded to General Counsel, has to be forwarded to Dr. Lane, and until they inspect, if they have a warrant, until they inspect it, make sure that it is legally binding, that they'll hold ICE there and not let them do anything. So I would say that is one probably strong part of the bill, and I think another part that is related to that is making sure that campus police has a policy that explicitly acknowledges that they are not to help ICE. And so far, what I've seen, I've emailed the chief of police here on K-State, and he got back to me and said, talk to Dr. Lane, which Dr. Lane hasn't given me any explicit information on any campus police policy about ICE. And I think that is another extremely important part of this bill.
Are there any further questions or corrections for the author? Okay, seeing none, thank you.
Cool, thanks you guys.
We have exhausted introduction of legislation, so we will now go into our second open period. Are there any second open period speakers? Chair Lee.
folks. I just wanted to give a little brief update about the donations for citations since we launched it on January 31st, 2025 for all the new folks in the room. If you get a parking citation on campus, you can now go to the parking garage and drop off 10 items. There's been flyers everywhere about it. Hopefully, I know people have been talking about it in their classrooms, which is really exciting, and it's been really successful so far. This is an email from Adrian Tucker, the Director of Parking Services. Last week, I believe, Andrew Navarro and Gracie Joe at the Judicial Branch just picked up a full table of donations this week, and so hopefully that number will go up. But since on February 11th, since 22 days past the launch, there have been 36 individuals that have utilized the program, 35 of students, and 1 is a faculty member. And the parking services has waived about $1,514 worth of citations and have collected 360 individual items for cats covered. Since then, there have been plenty more donations. We've had about the last 2 weeks, different folks in different branches picking up donations, and so excited to see what the number is going into March.
Are there any questions? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Any further questions for the speaker?
Sign up to volunteer if you haven't signed up yet, but I think we're full. But yeah.
Can we?
Senator Shirky.
Can we sign up for exec or judicial slots just to rub salt in the wound in the volunteer thing?
I'll send an email. If they can't find people to fill it, then if you can't find people to fill it, then the legislative branch can fill it. So no worries.
Yeah. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Are there any further second up and period speakers? Caucus Leader Block.
Yeah, so while it's on my mind, we've been kind of getting back going in the shack this semester, and one of the things we talked about in our last meeting was we wanted to put together a little toolkit for students to use about like what things they should know about their like personal health care, whether that be insurance, what your specific, like what are some big hot topic words in insurance are, what are some of the like health facilities in Manhattan and things like that. And then I just thought that I would extend the offer out to all of you guys if you thought you had anything to contribute to that. Just maybe come stick around after the meeting and talk to us. But we're very excited to get this launched and going.
Are there any further second open period speakers? Senator Hoffman.
Click that link in. Okay. Yeah, and then you can, yeah. Okay, just very quick. This is the link. It has jumped up 100 signatures in the last couple of days. But yeah, that's the website. Very simple. Name, info, yada yada, and then yeah, QR code up there. And also, if any of you guys have comments, concerns, questions about this bill, please email me, find me, contact me. I'm very willing to talk through this. I want to see it passed. So thank you.
Senator Alvarez.
Jeez, he's tall. Okay, I'm just here to talk about KSU Young Dems. I have the privilege of being the vice president and organizing some monthly community service opportunities. So this month we're going to Manhattan Emergency Shelter. Here are the dates and the times. If you have any questions, let me know. But it's just a good opportunity to connect with the community, get some community service points. So, yeah.
Are there any questions? Oh, seeing none. Okay. Are there any further second open period speakers? Senator Shirky.
I don't have like a QR code or a link for this or anything, but check the Student Senate regular communication channel. I posted some information about an upcoming Red Cross blood drive. It is one of the few ways where, you know, just regular people can help save a life in another context. I myself, or not me, but members of my family have been very positively impacted by the work of the Red Cross and other donations and community support for very challenging medical stuff. So I encourage you all to check the Student Senate Communications channel. If you're not on that, I guess maybe talk to Carson because he could send you the code, or if you have my number somehow, ask me. But yeah, please consider going to the blood drive. I think it's like early March like 10th that week, and donating blood to help save a life.
Senator Hawk, do you have a question?
Yeah. Do you know how often, I like to donate these, do you know how often they're at the union? Because I only do it when they're at the union.
Yeah, so this week, no, I don't. Like, I get the emails from the Red Cross, and I ignore those because those are basically spam. Instead, I just look whenever I have the time and ability to contribute. They're often at the union this week, like March 10th, 11th. They're sometimes at the union and sometimes at Kramer. It says where they are on any given day. So it's just like redcross.org. I think I put the link to like the generic website and then one page down so that it's like the Manhattan region in our Senate Communications channel, so you can find it there.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, are there any further second open period speakers? Senator Glanville.
Hello, all you lovely people. It is snowy outside, it is icy outside, which means it kind of sucks to get around campus, especially if you... Lovely. If you're driving on campus, please be courteous to our parking maintenance on the parking lots and the garage. They're trying to clear it up so you can find a parking spot and not slip and slide around. No car accidents. If there's barricades, it probably means they're trying to clean it up. So just be nice, be kind, because I love it when our maintenance guys are happy. Thank you.
Are there any further second open period speakers? Chair Lilly.
I forgot to do this in my committee report, but there are 3 vacancies in ag, 1 in business, 2 in engineering, 4 in HHS, 2 in grad school, and 1 in vet med.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Are there any further second open period speakers? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go into reference of legislation. Bills 63 through 64 will be referred to the Student Services Fee Committee. Bill 61 to the Student or Strategic Oversight Committee, and Bill 63 to the Senate Executive Committee. With that, Speaker Pro Tem Heseltine will take it away with Senate shoutouts.
Sorry, I was just in the process of sending that photo to all of KSU SGA. What should I make the subject line? Carson. I think it's important that everybody sees this. Just sent your way. Well, should have just received an email. Okay. Shout out to Not Standing for Questions. Shout out to Cookies. Shout out to Alexa rocking the Imperial Fit. She caused a supernova walking out of the Star Destroyer. Shout out to Philip. What an ally. Shout out to Hockey. Let's go USA. Shout out to Jacob for fielding all these questions. You are so loved. Let not any one pacify his conscience by the delusion that he can do no harm if he takes no part and forms no opinion. Bad men need nothing more to compass their ends than good men should look on and do nothing. Thank you. Si quieres. I forgot you don't speak Spanish if you want. Shout out to Senor Hoffman. Shout out to the little pieces of paper, crazy. Shout out to Brandon, our cookie king. Long may you reign. Shout out to Jacob for reading our names in a little Spanish accent, Latino king. Shout out to Bullet Points. Shout out to AI Carson, somehow looking worse than in real life Carson. Shout out to Jacob. I'd like to pay you to read all of my textbooks aloud, please. Mama, a girl behind you. Shout out to Matt, who somehow managed to turn a question into a debate. Very skillful. Shout out to the AI Carson. Shout out to Sophia, love the fit. At the end of the day. Shout out to Mid-Senate Cookie Raid. Shout out to Carson Cuesta, the newest member of the Backyard Baseball cast. Shout out to that loud fart at the back of the room. Shout out to Gavin for wearing his Carson costume tonight. Shout out to AI Images. Guys, ChatGPT is unsustainable. Shout out to Alexa for serving Ate the Rich and left no crumbs. Shout out to Andy being the Zoom king tonight. Shout out to Ben just because. Shout out to Jacob, proving he is a top-tier yapper. Shout out to our supreme leader, Alexa Hasseltine, and the Midwestern dad sitting next to her. Shout out to Philip for being a king tonight. Andrew, you gotta stop screen sharing your email. Shout out to Jacob's hair, the real star of the show. Shout out to Levi's earrings, always slaying. Shout out to Captain Lily for maintaining morale with the ranks and ensuring the evil army of vacancy shall finally be vanquished from our shores. Huzzah! Dismissed. Shout out to Max's farting phone. Shout out to Jacob, you do be read good. Shout out to Ben. Hi, Ben. Hi. Senator Hoffman has been rapping for 6,000 years. Jacob is my king. Shout out to Jacob for getting through that entire resolution in one breath. Shout out to Andrew Navarro. We see you sitting in the back. Is that even true? Oh, hello. I can't see you. New SJ mascot just dropped. Onward and upward.
Wait, guys, wait. No, not that one.
AI is so funny. Okay.
Yeah, with that, we'll now go into our second roll call.
Okay, Alvarez. Here. Bailey. Here. Black. Bolton. Byers.
Here.
Casement.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Cox.
Here.
Edgar.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
George.
Yeah.
Giefer. Glanville.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Hassan Shakib. Hoffman.
Here.
Holmes.
Here.
Holzmeister. Jacobson.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Kermer.
Here.
Kramer.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Lilly.
Here.
McCulloch. Moltz.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Nagai Velasquez.
Here.
Otto. Phillips.
Here.
Owen.
Here.
Palenko. Prey.
Yeah.
Robbie.
Here.
Rafferty.
Here.
Richenberg.
Here.
Ramirez.
Here.
Shah Savari. Here. Shirky.
Here.
Sides. Stewart.
Here.
Strunk.
Here.
Sushanik.
Here.
Weaver. Zacco.
Here.
Gotcha.
With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Senator Shirky.
I move to adjourn until February 27th at 7 p.m. At Chamber.
Is there an objection? We are adjourned.